This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
Bitcoin,
inflation,
budgets, to avoid a recession, interest rates,
AAA credit ratings,
pineapples.
Hello everyone, welcome to Money, Faith and Finance. I'm Ben McKechen from Hope Mornings, and you, my goodness me, would be Pete Burrows.
I am Pete Burrows.
And Pete, I'm pretty convinced that you are still accountant, individuals, small businesses with Lower Russell and Farr. I haven't got to the bit.
I still have you convinced of that. Yes, that is still me.
Lower Russell and Farr at Penrith.
True.
Great. Now we need to just brush past you. It's great that you're here.
Thanks.
But it's even better that we are joined by Danniebelle Whippy from Hope Breakfast. Hello, Danniebelle.
Hi, Ben McKechen. How are you? Hi, Pete.
Pete Burrows.
G'day. Yeah, she
Pete
knows.
Burrows,
She's on
ladies
it.
and gentlemen.
I'm just throwing the surnames
Yeah,
out there.
appreciate it, yeah.
Okay, now we're all introduced and brought up to speed. Fantastic. Glad everyone's going well. Let's just cut to the chase. Danniebelle, you are here because we would love to get your personal story on faith and finance. But to get there,
Yes.
let's get firstly to you. Who are
Yes.
you? What do you do? Family? Bit of background?
Yeah. Well, I am Danniebelle Whippy, Fijian, which I tell all the people all the time, just in case Brendan forgets. But yes, Fijian. I am an only child. My incredible parents, we moved here in 1987 from Fiji to Australia. Off the generosity of a close family member who actually isn't blood, which is wild and exciting, but they met my dad at a hotel in Fiji where my dad was working, and then it was just a God connection, basically, for lack of a long story for you. But this family brought us from Fiji to Australia to work for them here at an appliance store in East Balmain.
What?
Back in 1987.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And through the conversation we're going to have with you, we're going to hear a bit more about how you've got to being at Hope and a bit of your work life and how that intersects with money. But getting onto money, we've been asking people that are joining us on Money, Faith and Finance, what do you think is your biggest financial success story?
Any time that I can be generous.
Oh, I like it.
Oh,
Whether it's
Are you taking
small,
notes?
Yeah, it's like generous with a G. Yep,
You said any time I can be generous. Yeah.
I come from a long line of generous family members. So my grandfather back in Fiji used to cook pots of food for dinner, but yet the family was only the three of them. And my mum used to ask, why are you making all this food? It's just the three of us here. And he would say, you never know who God's going to bring past your door that needs a meal. And so I come from this legacy of a man who would cook an extra pot of food because he knew that God would bring it. And no joke, every time someone would come in, because they lived near the main airport, and someone would come in to stay and to fly the next day, or someone would fly in unexpectedly and then be like, oh, hey, we're in for the night, can we come? And every time. And so therefore my mum did that when we moved to Sydney. She every Sunday would cook a massive meal and everybody would come, or people would fly in from Fiji and say, hey, we're in, can we come? And then so growing up in that legacy of generosity, that's what I would hope and pray that I can do when I have my own home and family and things like that.
Right.
So,
It's a great attitude.
Write down legacy of generosity
yeah.
right there. Legacy.
That's great. Cook a bit more so you can give a bit more away. That is awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Very encouraging.
And Danniebelle, I know as you share with us a bit more about...
You had us at food, by the way.
As you share a bit more about you, I know that some of the things you just mentioned there you're going to touch on again. But before we do get to that, what would you like to do differently when it comes to money?
Not get stuck in the rabbit hole of it, like in the, I don't have enough for this, or, the mortgage interest rates are going higher, or, like the doom
the
and gloom.
anxiety, like the worry part of it? Or?
The worry. Because I believe that the Bible says worry is a sin. So therefore I don't want to fall into that trap of worrying all the time about it, because then I'm not trusting God in my finance. And then I'm not actually allowing him to do what he can do in and through my life. So yeah, it's not falling into the trap of worrying about it all the time, because it's very easy to do so with everything that's happening in the world. It's easy to do that.
I never had to twist my arm to make myself worry about something that comes naturally. How have you found ways of not worrying about it, putting it out of your mind?
Reminding myself of when God has come through for me in different areas of my life.
Yep.
Knowing that he can help and resolve, and his orchestration is incredible, where he brings people alongside you to help. It's reminding myself that he has come through for me one time, he can do it again.
That is a great entrance point, Pete, for us to then start learning a bit more about you, Danniebelle. And what we definitely know about you is you're part of the Hope Breakfast duo. What people may not know about you is that you live in one of the, actually it's the second most impossibly unaffordable city in the entire world. Thank you very much.
Why can't we be number one? Come on, we're very competitive in Sydney.
Hong Kong,
right,
they're still at
fair
number
enough.
one on this demography.
We'll catch them. We're coming after you, Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's like the one thing you don't want to win.
Yeah,
like,
true. Yeah.
Like
Not a great prize.
all the gold going on in the games for Australia, you want that. What we don't want to do is even be on the podium when it
Play
comes
stupid
to
games, win stupid prizes. That's what my kids say.
Anywho, impossibly unaffordable cities, Sydney being the second one on the Demographia annual survey thing that goes around, basically letting us know what we already know, that those of us who live in Sydney, like yourself, Danniebelle, it's ridiculous out here. What is it like for you, being a bit more specific, being in this city on a single income with a mortgage?
Really hard, guys. It's actually really hard. I am in a bit of a special situation where my life isn't the priority. It's my mum's life, where her health situation changed for us back in 2018. And so everything kind of shifted around her. And so we bought a home as a family back in 2014, before kind of everything happened financially from a country,
From a pandemic point of view?
Yeah, little pesky pandemic.
Yeah.
Post the GFC, back in, what's that, 2008? But
yeah.
pre the old pandemic.
That's right.
So
Old
2014,
2020.
remember those glory days? Oh, my goodness,
Oh, they felt
2014.
good. You know,
Good times.
was able to buy a home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so 2018 comes around and my mum's health kind of declined. And then so we had to kind of shift and rethink some things. And then fast forward a couple more years where we then hit the pandemic and my dad then, he had to retire and then become her full-time carer. So then I had the full-time job and was the breadwinner of the family. And so then fast forward a couple more years again, then I'm made redundant from my full-time job, which was kind of a hit in the gut.
Yeah.
Didn't see it coming, I guess, too. Like it was...
The company I was with, they were experiencing some redundancies earlier, but I didn't think that my particular role was going to be made redundant. And then, which brought us to 2023, which I've spoken about on air, about how difficult it was to then be launched into not having employment, then trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to start Uber driving. I'm going to start just how can I get money fast to help with these increasing interest rates and mortgages and health requirements for...
Talk about a time of worry.
Yeah. Talk about a time of worry. Exactly. Where I then kind of dipped into a pretty dark place, to be honest, and thankful for the people around me who were able to pull me out of that darkness, reminding me of God's goodness and his faithfulness, and knowing that God can take my upset and worry and, to be honest, anger, because I was like, why is my mum in this health situation? Why have I now not have a job? You can see where we're at as a family, and this is where you've allowed my path to follow. And it was honestly from the advice and wisdom of those who've done more longer of the journey than me, to help me understand, and also just to go back to the scriptures, to go back to his word, to again place God as my anchor, Jesus as my center, in order to pull me out of that whirlwind that I kind of let my mind go through, which I know that a lot of people, and I have some friends who are actually going through it right now, who've seen my journey and have seen that I went through what I went through in 2023 to now where his promises has kind of outworked in this year, where I've gotten this job and all that sort of stuff. So,
Danniebelle, we have so many more questions for you, but before we get to that, there's this. Welcome back to Money, Faith and Finance with our special guest, Pete, Hope Breakfast, Danniebelle Whippy. And Danniebelle, you've been sharing some incredible stuff about what you've been through in the last couple of years, financial challenges, anger with God, wrestling with God, and how you're starting to come through that. It would be great to talk with you a bit more about 2023, 2024, the contrasts, how you went about looking for work, what it taught you about faith and finance. We're going to get to that. But before that, Pete, Smarter with Money is an event that you will be featuring at on the 14th of September.
Scary, I know. Careful what you wish for. Yes, I've got a speaking gig.
Mate, that's not scary. That's awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah, it's
Smarter with Money. So you're the person
apparently
doing Smarter with
apparently
Money.
so.
Yeah. I mean, the whole back catalogue of money, faith and finance would attest to this.
Yep.
But here's you at Pittwater Anglican on Saturday, 14th of September, between 3 and 5.
That's me.
Smarter with Money, tips and traps in difficult times. Basically, in 2 hours, you're going to sort out everybody's financial woes.
It is, yeah. It sounds scary when you say it like that. I think it
sounds like a guarantee when I say it like that.
It's more of tips and traps and then hopefully a Q&A, interactive.
And a guarantee of financial success.
I need a pretty big disclaimer. We need to start writing that now. But yes, it should be good. The church reached out. They'd heard us. They'd been listening to the podcast. They like what we've got to say. We're sort of down to earth and straightforward. And they wanted to run something and provide something for their church and for people nearby, and looked us up and reached out. And I said, let's do it.
Awesome. And get in touch if you'd like more of this Smarter with Money tips and traps action. Pete showing up at your church or wherever to share your financial advice. I'm just here for the gags.
Can I bring you with me?
hopepodcast.com.au. Get in touch. I just evaded that question.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Danniebelle, back to you and 2023.
Yeah.
So you're already starting to share a bit about how you kind of came through it. But before we get there, how many jobs were you searching for in 2023? You mentioned Uber driving and the like.
Yes.
But what else were you doing in and around the gig economy?
I ventured into the acting space, so doing extras jobs, background jobs.
How'd that go?
It was actually really great. Like, I met a lot of great people. I got an agent, so then they helped me get jobs as much as I can. I mean, you're probably booking 2 to 3 big jobs. When I say big jobs, maybe a week worth of a show, but then sometimes more often is the one-day jobs. So you're just out for the 12 hours and you're back home again.
So it's cool, but not consistent work.
It's not
so make it hard
consistent.
to sort of budget. Like, it's good when you get it, but is it hard to rely on for bills? And
Very hard.
Yep.
That's where the Uber driving helped, because then I could do it any hours of the week and it would just fill in as much as I could.
Was it enough?
No, it wasn't enough. And so between my
Don't
parents...
sugarcoat it for us. Just tell us.
It
No,
was
it
hard.
was not enough.
It was not. I'm sure it was
I'm really
not.
glad you're not sugarcoating it
not
for us,
enough.
because I can't understand how some people can make a fist of it, particularly in impossibly unaffordable Sydney.
It's second job.
How-
I've got a few
or
clients.
third or fourth
Uber
or fifth.
driving is their second or third job.
And even that, you couldn't piece together enough to be able to pull yourself through. Like, that's a really difficult spot to be in.
Yeah, it was really tough. I was also, so that was the acting, the driving, and then I was also doing like freelance floor management, like production jobs, because that's what I did a lot in my previous full-time job. So then it was trying to get my name out in the industry of production and trying to get myself out on as many sets as I could. That again is not consistent. That's very season to season type, for lack of a better term. And so then the Uber driving was kind of just, I did DoorDash. I was like, there was so many.
gee.
My life. My tax agent was like, how many things are going to come through? I was
How
like,
many
sorry.
pay-go certificates have you got?
Yeah,
this
I was like, oh. So I literally was striving, for lack of a better term. And I figured out, I didn't figure out. My mum spoke to me at the end of the year when I had this conversation with Brendan about a possible job
Here at Hope.
here at Hope. My mum said, isn't it funny how, well, it's actually not funny, it's how beautiful God is that every job you've received as a full-time job, you haven't strived for it. It's come to you. I was like, oh yeah, wow, whoa, okay. Because from January from December of 2022 to maybe April of 2023, I can't even tell you how many resumes I sent for a job. Every kind of job. I didn't care. I was like, let me go to the grocery store and pack. Like there was everything, to other radio shows where could be an executive assistant. It was like just.
So you weren't precious
everything.
particularly?
No. I was like, at this point,
Give me a job, give me money.
Give me a job. And I was so focused on the money that I had actually removed myself from, or my thought of, okay, God will provide. At this point in that first half of the year, I was like, I need the dollars in my account. And
so your approach to money, do you think, changed in that period of time in contrast with how you'd approached it before?
Scarily, yes.
So how would you have described your approach before?
Well, I didn't worry about it because I had the security of a full-time job.
So was it the provision of God through the security of that job, or more do you think the security of the job itself?
Ooh, good question. It was the security of the job.
Which I'm sure is true for plenty of us.
Yeah. And I think in January last year, I think I figured that my identity was in the job as well. So because I had that particular job for 14 years. And so when I finished, and because redundancy is it's not like I'm choosing to leave, you're being asked to leave.
Yeah. Chops off a bit of your identity. Did you find it sort of like, I've done this for a long time, who am I?
Yeah, I've done this. I'm a video producer. That's who I am. That's who I can, I'm good at that. I can bring that. So then when the floor's taken from you, then it's like, wait, who am I actually?
So that's more than the money.
It's much more than money, but I made it about the money. And I think that's where I lost
almost as a
myself.
reaction, do you think? Or just as that's a pragmatic necessity of life.
I think we get used to it, don't we? We get used to the regular money each week, and you probably put that into your plans and hopes and what you thought
100%.
your life was going to be, and then suddenly it's not there, and you can't think ahead. People can't think far enough in advance without knowing they've got a job.
And in the circumstance that your family is in, and what you've said about your mum and your dad caring for your mum, like that's a whole heap of things that many of us don't have to factor in to our thinking about money, even as we plan out. So that must have caused all kinds of, no wonder, angst, anger, consternation in that time.
Yeah, and like I said before, it really sent me into a dark place where I got diagnosed by my doctor that I was skirting depression. And I was like, I need to see someone, because my headspace obviously my heart space from a spiritual point of view is not aligned with what God actually wants me to be believing and walking out. Because I was so focused on the earthly thing that helps us keep moving forward, money, instead of going, actually, God's promises on my life, He has put desires in my heart. I was focusing on the money, the earthly requirement to keep moving on this earth and to buy things and to, go forward in life, instead of focusing on God's truth and His word when it comes to finances, that we actually shouldn't worry about those things because He's already planned it out for us. It's believing in His word and having an anchor in His word in my life so that I don't actually have to worry about those things. And so I had fallen really deep into this space that I've actually never been in, because I straight from high school, I went straight into a full-time job back in 2004. And so I've never known unemployment until now in my very adult age. And so because I felt like I had my identity in this last job, like we were saying, Pete, because I had a full-time job, I could look ahead and be like, okay, so these are the
Here's what's coming
plans.
up. Here's what I want to do.
Yes,
Yep.
this is what I want to do. And then bang, it all changes like night and day. And then I don't know who I am anymore, because my head was so like, okay, I've got everything planned, but actually I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know where to go, left or right or up or down. And that really threw me for a six. And so I ended up going to a doctor, to my GP, and just being like, I'm actually not good head-wise either. Did a test and she was like, yeah, you're skirting depression, anxiety. And for those who know me, that's so far left of who I actually am. Words spoken over me have been joy and kindness and all the, and
good vibes.
Good vibes, GVO, good vibes only. But in early 2023, I was not that Danniebelle. I was not. And so I really needed help. And so, yeah, it was just a whole mind shift, but also heart shift as well.
What helped you with that heart and mind shift?
It was putting my hand up to those around me who were leadership, who I knew as wise counsel.
Leadership in financial stuff, or more spiritual side, and then that influenced financial stuff?
Spiritual that then influenced financial.
How?
I got to a place when I was serving in my local church, I was clocking in and out. My heart wasn't there. I was very much like, because I was mad at God, I wouldn't actually sit in the service. So I was helping on the outside with the setup and everything. And I'd do my part and I'd leave and I'd go home. And I would go home and then go straight upstairs and put a movie on. It was church time. Like, I could have turned on the online service, but I didn't. And I got to a point in April where I was so like, I was like, whoa, you look down at your situation and you look down for so long, you don't look up. And then my analogy is like you're then in the middle of the ocean. You don't know where you are. You can't place yourself anymore. And I felt so lost. And so me putting my hand up, I spoke to one of my leaders of the place that I was serving. And I was like, hey, I'm actually not in the right way. Like, I need to stop serving. I need some counsel. They're like, okay, what's happening? And so just did a breakdown of where I was at. And then it was more the heart stuff of where my heart was, because Jesus was no longer my anchor anymore. It was the earthly things that I had to get things done because my family are in this situation. And so I had to, and being the breadwinner, I'm an only child. So I was feeling the weight of supporting my family.
It's natural though, isn't it? Like I find a lot of my clients and friends, we all feel like I've got to get my money sorted to support my family. And we kind of think the money part is what needs to come first to make everything easier in life. But then I guess if you don't have that, does it force us to really concentrate on what is important? If that rug is taken out, where are we actually at? And you probably had to go through that, I guess.
Yeah. Very much so.
And Danniebelle, did you hark back to your childhood? And you mentioned earlier on about being surrounded by generosity, for example. Did things that you knew about God, money, provision, stewardship, generosity, did they come back on the other side of that really dark place you were in at the start of 2023? Was there like a through line of how you were brought up in and around money and God? Did that come back on the other side, or has it changed?
I think part of me being in that dark place was because I've grown up in a spirit of generosity, in a family of generous people, and I couldn't give that. I couldn't be generous, was part of the reason why I was so lost. But then when I had to have the heart check, I had to get myself back in the Word, because then I wasn't reading the Bible. I was like, I'm so not in the right space. What am I reading the Bible for? Do you know what I mean? And even talking about it now is like, makes my stomach turn, because I was like, Danniebelle, could you have let yourself get there? But it's actually the reality where people go, I need to do everything in my strength. When the Bible actually says the opposite. We need to do everything in his strength, not our own strength.
Including our money stuff?
Including our money stuff. It's trusting in him that he will provide for you. I believe in tithing, bringing my first 10% in my jobs, the first 10%, everything, I will give it to God, because I believe that God blesses the 90%. Because I've given my 10%.
What does that mean? What would that look like, the blessing?
From what I've seen in my financial walk, it's like the money goes further than if I didn't give my 10%. I find I'm more wise with what I'm doing with my money when I've chosen to put God first in that space. But after everything that happened in the beginning of 2023, I got into this space of, okay, I'm going to stop striving to find a job. I was like, I'm just going to get my walk right with God.
Including
first.
Going back to the Bible?
Yes. Going back to the Bible, going to home group or connect, like making sure that those things were important and I made time for those things. Once I started shifting the way I was looking at the Bible and actually listening to God and not trying to have my own way, things started to change in my financial state, because jobs started to come because I wasn't striving for them anymore. Like I shifted my focus on what was important. What was important is my relationship with God. And then I had to then go, I'm going to release the stress of me freaking out about the money and doctor's appointments and figuring that all out. Once I did that, I felt like everything actually started to fall into place.
Well, Danniebelle, you have shared so much with us, which we're really grateful for. The amount of being candid and going into your family situation and this dark place that we're in. Really glad that you're not in it anymore. What we always do at the end of every episode of Money, Faith and Finance is show me the money. And usually Peter...
It feels almost wrong to say show me the money after this.
It does a little bit.
It's like show me the faith.
I know.
Show me the trust.
We
show me the promises.
We didn't really think that through when we called it show me the money about such a moment, because you usually share it, Pete, and I just chime in every now and again.
Yep.
And I'm deliberately prolonging this a bit longer, Danniebelle, because I'm trying to think... No, I can't. I can't think of another way of saying...
Show us the learning. Show us the faith.
Yeah, that's
show
right.
us
Show us
the learning.
the money learning
Yes.
that we should take from everything we've heard from you, Danniebelle, and all your reflections and getting back with God when it comes to your finances. What would you like us to take away?
1 Corinthians 10, verse 13 in the Message says, no test or temptation that comes your way is beyond the course of what others have had to face. All you need to remember is that God will never let you down. He'll never I get emotional about it. It's awesome. He'll never let you be pushed past your limit. He'll always be there to help you come through it. And that scripture helped me massively, and is actually quite significant for my family because of everything we've come through and are going through. We hold on to this scripture because we believe that whatever we face, God's already given us the resource to face it. Whether we see it now, whether we see it in a month or 2 months or a year's time, it's believing that whatever challenge I'm going to have, whether it's financial, whatever it is, God's got us. He'll bring the right people through. He'll help me, give me the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding to face whatever challenge I have and whatever my family has. And so if I can encourage anyone, it would be around what you're facing right now. God's got you. He says it in his scripture. And it's easy to slip into the depths of the depression of it, but actually not letting yourself go there and turning to God's word where he's given us every promise, every truth to trust him. Because he's done it before, he will do it again.
Danniebelle Whippy from Hope Breakfast, thank you so much for joining us on Money, Faith and Finance. Pete, just a couple of things to whip through before we head on out of here. One, if you haven't joined the Facebook group already, do it. Find us on Facebook, Money, Faith and Finance. We talk about all this sort of stuff on a daily basis. Join in the conversation.
Ask questions, give answers.
All the things.
Yep.
Speaking of all the things, subscribe or share or star rate this podcast. See all the S's that I did there? Yeah, you like that?
And 5-star is
especially when I put it out to you.
5 is the right, and 5 is the new black, people.
5 is definitely the strong
5 is the only number.
suggestion that we have for you when it comes to money, faith and finance, so the podcast can get out there to more and more people. And also Smarter with Money, tips and traps in difficult times. Pete in person at Pittwater Anglican.
That's got a lot of...
Peas?
Yes.
Yeah. On Saturday, 14th of September, be there and hit up Pete with all the questions that you've ever had about money, and he's going to answer it in the space of 2 hours. Done. It's been great having you again, Danniebelle. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us again on the next Money, Faith and Finance, where you will be Pete Burrows from...
I will.
Don't stop. Don't.
Lower Russell, I know where I'm from.
Lower Russell and Far, Penrith. You're an accountant with small businesses and individuals.
Yes, I am.
Stop interrupting me.
Okay.
I'll be Ben McKecken next time. You'll be...
Pete Burrows.
See you then.
This podcast is for general information only and is not investment or financial advice. It is not specific to you, your needs, goals, and objectives. Before making any financial decisions, do your own research and speak with your financial advisor. Thank you for listening to Money with Ben and Pete.